Here I have a Chex Mix recipe. I'm going to convert it to a fourth of the original recipe. The original recipe serves 16 individuals. So 1/4 of the original would serve 16 times a fourth will give me a fourth of 16. 16 fourths is just 4. It will serve 4 people. How many cups of Chex Mix do I need? Well, I just figured out what a fourth of 16 is. The original recipe calls for 16 cups, but now I only need 4 cups. All right, 1 cup of oil is in the original. Well, a fourth of a cup, 1 times a fourth is just a fourth a cup of oil. 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. Well, a fourth of 2 times a fourth, it's going to be 2/4 or a half a tablespoon. Of Worcestershire sauce. Okay, and seasoned salt. We have 2½ teaspoons of seasoned salt. And so I'm going to take 2½ and change it to an improper fraction by multiplying the bottom times the big number plus the top. That gives me 5/2 times a fourth is 5/8. 5/8 teaspoon of salt. Okay, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. So what is a fourth of a half? Well, 1/2 times a fourth is 1/8. A teaspoon of garlic powder. And then I have 1 cup of chopped nuts, or 1 cup of nuts, and so 1 times a fourth is just a fourth. 1/4 cup. And then 2 cups of pretzels, 2 times a fourth, which I've already done when I was working with the Worcestershire sauce, is just a half a cup. Okay, so now I am going to convert the recipe into half of the original recipe. Excuse me, up here where it says tablespoon, it should be TBSP is the abbreviation for tablespoon. Okay, so half of the original. So here's my original, and I'm going to convert it so I find just half of the original. Well, I know half of 16 is 8 servings. It'll serve 8 people. Or I'm not going to say 8 servings. Sometimes a serving can be served more than one person. I'll say 8 people. And then a half of 16 is just 1/2 times 16, which is 16 divided by 2, which is 8. 8 cups of Chex cereal. And half of 1 cup is just a half a cup. Oil. And a half of 2 is just 1 tablespoon. Of Worcestershire sauce. And then half of 2½. Well, I can change that mixed number to an improper fraction. I get 5/2 times a half. It's 5/4. Excuse me, 5/2 times a half is 5/4. And that equals 1 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And I can figure out half of a half. I know half of a half is a fourth, but if I multiply it to check myself, I get a fourth, a teaspoon of garlic powder. And then the next ingredient was a cup of nuts, and so a half of one is a half cup. And 2 cups of pretzels, a half of 2 is just 1 cup of pretzels. All right, last, I am going to make enough for just one person. So this serves 16 individuals. How do I make enough just for one person? Well, I am going to divide 16 divided by 16. So it originally served 16 people. If I divide that by 16, it'll serve one person. Well, since I divided this by 16, I'm going to divide everything else on my list by 16. 16 cups divided by 16 is just 1 cup. A cup of oil divided by 16 is just a 16th cup of oil. Keep in mind that this fraction line means divided by, so this is 1 divided by 16, which is 1/16 cup of oil. 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce divided by 16. I can write this as 2 over 1, because 2 over 1 is the same as 2 tablespoons. And, divide it by 16. I'll put the 16 over 1 so it's in fraction form. And when we divide in fraction form, we have to stay, switch, flip. Stay to, switch to multiplication, and flip to 1/16. I multiply straight across, I get 2/16, which is an eighth. 1/8 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. Okay, so the next one is 2.5 teaspoons of salt, seasoned salt. So I want to make that for 1 serving. So I'm going to change this mixed number to an improper fraction. Bottom times big plus top, I get 5 halves. 5 halves divided by 16. Stay, switch, flip is 5/32 teaspoon of seasoned salt. And then I have a half a teaspoon of garlic powder. So 1/2 divided by 16 is, again, I got to stay, switch, flip. I get 1/32 teaspoon of garlic powder. And I have a cup of nuts, so 1 cup divided by 16 is just 1 divided by 16, 1/16, cup. Two cups of pretzels is 2 divided by 16, which is 2/16, which equals an eighth cup of pretzels.